All right, guys, for this lesson, we're going to be looking at different ways of mixing with colored pencils. The first one we're going to look at is using just pressure to change the values of a color. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the color red. I'm going to start by filling in this entire rectangle using a very soft pressure to create a very light red. As I do this, I try to keep my colors nice and smooth. Try to minimize the amount of lines that I'm putting onto the paper. I do this by using the side of the lead as much as possible. Once that first layer is complete, I'm going to go ahead and start darkening up the layers by pressing just a little bit firmer. Notice that I've moved a little bit to the right. I'm using a little bit more pressure, but as I go to the left, I blend it into the previous value. So the left side is lighter than the center. The more I go to the right, the harder I press with the pencil. Keep in mind that you have to blend the values into it. You don't want to leave a bunch of stripes when you're doing this. I use kind of a circular stroke when I do this rather than a back and forth line motion, just to minimize the amount of lines on the paper. On the right side, I'm using firm pressure, but as I go back towards my left, I'm going to start to soften up the pressure and blending that red into the lighter red. The key here is to try to make the colors blend very smoothly. So basically it's a gradient red. You're going from a very light red to a nice rich dark red. But it has to be done smoothly so that you can't really tell where the values are making changes. All right, for our second demo, we're going to be doing a little color mixing. I'm going to choose a light color, a medium color, and a dark color for this demo. So I'm going to use yellow, yellow, green, and green. And what I'm going to show you is how to use these three colors to go from very light to very dark and to blend them so that they look nice and smooth. I'm going to begin with the lighter of the three colors. So similar to what I did on the top, using the side of the lead as much as possible, I'm going to go ahead and start putting in my first layer using yellow. I want to keep this layer nice and smooth, and I'm going to take it about halfway through the rectangle. Next, I'm going to switch to my yellow green, and I'm going to start blending the yellow green into the yellow. So starting to the right of the yellow and then blending it into the yellow is going to give me a nice smooth transition from yellow to yellow green. Again, make sure that you're blending this and you're taking your time to do this smoothly. On the far right, where my dark color is going to be, I'm going to leave that area blank for now because I don't want to mix any of my midtones in there. Once the yellow green is mixed in with the yellow, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the darker green and start working the dark green into the yellow green. Again, the key is to make sure that you are blending them into each other to create a nice smooth gradient um, color changes. Switching over to the dark green, I'm going to go ahead and start working from right to left, pressing firmly for the dark green and lightening up the pressure as I mix it in with the yellow green. Just like when you were doing the top one, make sure that you are building up those colors gradually. As you keep adding more and more color to the paper, you're actually adding more and more wax to the paper. So you have to build it up gradually so that the colors will stick to each other. As you can see here, I'm pressing very, very firmly on the right hand side to create that nice dark green. But as I go back to the left, I soften up the pressure and allow some of that yellow green to show through to create that nice smooth blend. I am going to go back and add a little bit more of the yellow green just in the center section just to try to blend that the colors just a little bit more. Whenever you're mixing colors, you do have to take your time. Sometimes you may have to rework some of the colors 2 or 3 times in order to get it just the way you want it. The third example we're going to work on is called antiquing. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to lay down some graphite on the paper first, and then right on top of the graphite, you're going to be putting in the colors. The reason that this works, well, first of all, antiquing simply makes the colors look old. It causes them to lose their vibrancy. The reason this works is because most color pencils are see-through or semi-see-through. So whatever you do on the paper first, when you get ready to put the color pencils on top, it will actually show up underneath the color pencils. The first step to antiquing is to get a regular pencil and fill in the entire rectangle using probably a light to medium gray. Try to make this as smooth as you possibly can, because once you start laying the color pencils on top of this, you're not going to be able to go back and erase the graphite. So get this nice and smooth. Once you have the entire box filled in with the graphite, what I'm going to have you do is go through with each of your color pencils, and we're going to start off the graphite and then bring it onto the graphite. That way you can actually see what's happening to the colors. So we're going to start with yellow, and I want you to press firmly and start below the box so you can see how bright the color actually is. But then work your way onto the graphite and you can actually see what happens to the color. It looks much older, it's dirty basically, and that's what we're looking for. I want you to go through and do this with each of the colors that you have available to you. The reason for that is because I actually want you to see how the colors change. If I wanted to, I could have made the graphite just a little bit darker and then put the colors on top, and that would have made them look even darker, the colors. The antiquing technique can also be used in combination with color pressure or mixing colors. So you get some nice variety, and by using just a handful of pencils, by changing these techniques, you can actually create a great deal of colors and variations of those colors. All right, the last technique that we're going to do today is called cross hatching. And cross hatching can be done with all kinds of different things. For this example, we're just going to do it with the color pencils. So select the color pencils that you want to use. Make sure they're nice and sharp. And then the key to cross hatching is a couple. Number one, make sure that when you do each layer, that the lines are relatively parallel to each other. Number two, every time that you change layers, change colors. And number three, you want to work from the edges inward. That way you're not accidentally putting lines outside of the box. Notice that the lines are not exactly the same. They are parallel to each other, but they don't have to be the same length. And you can leave some areas of pure white showing. That actually creates a bit of a glow when you do that. After you're done with the first color, you're going to want to turn your paper so that your second layer goes at about a 90 degree. Make sure you change colors. Again, as I do this, I try to keep the lines parallel to each other, but not necessarily the same length. Once the second layer is done, your third layer will be done at a diagonal. So again, change colors and turn the paper to make it easier for yourself and start doing the third layer as a diagonal to the first two layers. Because color pencils are soft, the tips tend to get dull relatively fast, so make sure that you're spinning your pencil a little bit and try to find the sharpest edge. And if it gets too dull, then go ahead and sharpen it up. For your final layer, go ahead and turn your paper so that when you do the next diagonal, it's at a 90 degree from the one you just finished. Remember, we're only working with lines when we're doing cross hatching, so don't try to fill in the little squares in between them. We want we want the colors to mix, and at the same time we're creating a sense of texture. When you do this, you can pick any of the colors that you want. I would select at least 4 different colors, but you can do more. And remember, you want to work from the outer edges inward, and you want to change directions every time you change colors. And those are the 4 techniques that we're going to try to complete by the end of the day. In the next lesson, we'll be actually looking at how these techniques are used when you're creating some artwork.